Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sleep on the couch? Original post. I, 32 male, and my wife, 31 female, got into a heated argument after her friend accused me of hitting on her. The other day, on my way from work to home, I came across a friend of my wife, and she looked like she was carrying heavy stuff. So I asked if she wanted a ride home. At first, she declined, but as I was leaving, she changed her mind and got into the car. We had a nice chat whilst driving, and all was well. I even told my wife about it when I got home. Yesterday, I was confronted by my wife because I allegedly hit on her friend. I obviously denied it and told her the version of events, but apparently I was persistent with said friend when offering her the ride. I only asked twice, and the second time was asking if she was sure. My wife insisted that her friend isn't the type to just lie about something like this. Naturally, I asked why she trusted her friend more than me, and then she told me about how her sister's husband cheated with a friend. I was angry at how I was being compared to someone else based on a mere accusation, and we ended up arguing. Then we were just about to sleep. She told me to sleep on a couch because she didn't feel comfortable with me. I argued that I wasn't going to be punished for something I didn't do, and after quite a back and forth, I eventually let her have the room and slept in the other one instead. I woke up in the morning to yet another confrontation about why I didn't sleep on the couch. I was obviously baffled and asked why I would sleep on the couch when there's an entire other room. According to her, if one spouse tells the other that they should sleep on the couch, then they should do as asked to show that they're sorry. I pointed out that this was ridiculous, especially when you add the fact that I didn't even do anything. Things are now tense, all because I gave someone a lift. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Whoever doesn't want to share the bed should leave the shared bed. I've always been baffled as to why one partner thinks they get to kick the other partner out of a bed that belongs to both of them. My general rule is that everyone gets to control their own body, like going to sleep somewhere else, but when they start trying to control other people's bodies, like kicking a partner out of bed, then they have become an a-hole. And then being mad because you left and slept somewhere else, but you didn't sleep in the correct somewhere else, now your wife is a double a-hole. Yep, I agree with you. Boundaries are for me, not to control you. They're the limit of my consent to participate. Also, for the record, not the a-hole OP. OP needs to find a better wife. She's not it. 1. She believed her friend over him with zero proof provided. 2. She didn't leave the shared space herself, instead he must leave. 3. Insisted he must go on a couch rather than a spare room. 4. Said OP must be sorry rather than have a discussion. 5. Not dealing with her own insecurity issues. Unless she agrees to go to therapy and apologizes sincerely, this will likely break trust for OP permanently, and you can't continue a marriage without trust. Wife basically decides whenever she feels like, not reality, that OP must be punished by having a painful night on the sofa, rather than a brief separation. OP's wife only feels validated if OP is punished and in pain. Yeah, not sure if therapy fixes that one. Not the a-hole. Your wife's friend has deliberately lied, and your wife believes her over you. She should be sleeping on a couch. You need to warn other male acquaintances about that friend, and never help her again. Never speak to her again, and anytime you are in the same location, you need to record the entire time. Not the a-hole. And oh man, do you have problems. That kind of nonsense is a deal breaker for me. Also, what I was thinking, sleeping in the other room wasn't even good enough? Wow. Getting mad that your partner, who you supposedly love, didn't go to the doghouse like you ask is honestly such a horrible thing to do. On top of believing a random friend over your partner, when said partner told you it happened already. Now for the update. A week ago, I made a post about how my wife got angry at me for not sleeping on a couch after her friend accused me of hitting on her. Well, not too long after the arguments, we eventually confronted said friend, only for another argument to break out, this time between my wife and her friend, and I got more than I bargained for. Basically, the friend denied ever saying I was hitting on her and said my wife took it out of context / misheard her. My wife argued back saying the opposite, that friend said I was making moves on her and flirting. According to friend, her words were along the lines of, "Your husband was very nice to me, and had it been any other person, I would think they're flirting." Honestly, there was a lot of back and forth about what was actually said, but in the end, it was established that I had, in fact, not flirted with her friend. However, because of this argument, things were heated and things were said. What got me is when her friend revealed to me that my wife was very insecure and had been keeping tabs on me, checking my phone every now and then without my knowledge and, quote, searching my car and laundry for any feminine product/scents that did belong to her every so often. Apparently, she's been confiding all this to her friends, and at some point, even considered having one of her friends flirt with me to see what I would do. Needless to say, I'm speechless and very disappointed. It's only now that I realize there wasn't any trust ever in this marriage, and I'm only going to continue suffering because her sister's failed marriage. She's tried apologizing and denying at the same time, to the point where I'm confused what she's apologizing for and what she's denying. I was tempted to give her the same treatment she gave me based on an accusation, but to be honest, I really don't have the energy. As of now, I've asked for some space to contemplate this entire marriage. Thanks everyone for the support and advice. It really means a lot. It seems like a lot of you were right. I think I'll take it from here. Again, thank you so much. Sincerest regards. Wow, OP. She's projected her insecurity so hard it contaminated her friend's view of you, and or the friend decided to fake the loyalty test for her? Sounds like she needs a no-contact timeout for the health of your relationship, and your wife needs a therapist to vent to, instead of crap-steering friends. Good luck, my dude. Thanks for the update. The way I'm reading it, the friend didn't actually accuse OP of anything at all, but OP's wife is determined to find evidence of cheating somewhere because she's so worried about what happened to her sister happening to her. Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, pushing someone because they are going to hurt me or leave me or cheat on me until they actually do leave. OP, I am so sad to hear this is happening to you. Don't look for any blame by yourself. You did nothing wrong, and this is a problem of your partner. I totally agree. The worst part about trust issues is that you often end up getting exactly what you fear. Too often, the suspicious behavior that results from distrust leads to conflict and breakup. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not treating my stepchildren equally to my son? When my husband and I got married, we got an extensive prenup, and we agreed that we would each be responsible for providing for our children. It came from a marriage where his ex-wife milked him for cash, and I also like the idea of separate finances. We each pay our own bills. Groceries and a mortgage, we split 40-60. Him 60%, me 40%, based on the fact that he has 2 children and I have 1. I understand that to some people it might seem a bit roommate-ish, but I love it, and I think it works out great. I don't care about the money he wastes golfing because it's his money, not mine. And I can get expensive sushi all the time. Growing up, my parents would always yell at each other about finances, nitpicking each other's spending. When my husband and I got married, I was in grad school and he worked in finance. He lost his well-paying job and now makes 50% less, whereas my career has flourished in recent years. My son turns 15 soon, and he's been asking for a Model 3. I plan on getting it for him because I think he deserves it. My husband recently came to me upset because my son was talking about how excited he is to get a car. That upset his step-siblings, who haven't and won't be getting cars. Now my husband said he wants to change how our household bills are split. He wants me to pay 80% and him 20%. His reasoning is because with his pay cut and his ex-wife still taking a large chunk in child support, he isn't able to go for live the same lifestyle as before. He also wants me to buy each of my stepchildren a car this Christmas. I basically told him he's out of his mind, and he complains that his ex-wife used him for cash and made him pay all the bills, but that's what he's trying to do to me. He didn't really know how to respond to that, but isn't talking to me now. I find it kind of funny that when I made significantly less money, he had no issue with our finance split. But now that he's the one making less, it's an issue? Am I the a-hole for not wanting to buy my stepkids cars and fund a family? He wants me to top off their college funds too. Edit. I am a positive role model in my stepchildren's lives. We're pretty close. I go to their sporting events, plan their birthday parties, etc., but they have 2 living parents who are more than capable of fully supporting them if they tried hard enough. So I just don't feel like it's my place. The kids all know that my husband is responsible for my stepkids' cars in college, and I'm responsible for my sons. They're just disappointed with their dad right now because their friends all have dads who have bought them nice cars, which has made my husband kind of mad. I don't think having cars and college funds are a necessity though, more of a nice to have thing if your parents can afford it. So I feel like my husband should either step up to the plate and get a better job, or get off my back. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. And you've made super fair points about how he was fine with his split when he was making more. I don't see why you should have to finance this lifestyle now. But I don't see how you two are going to maintain your marriage at this point unless your husband comes around and is back to being fine with the original agreement. I'm definitely not going to cave. I had no problem living a cheaper lifestyle when we first got married, and he was well off. He still took me out for nice dinners, but my son went to public school, and I couldn't have expensive hobbies. If anything, it motivated me to get a good job and finish school. It just blows my mind that he thinks it was fine for me to live that lifestyle but it's not good enough for him and his children. Your husband set the precedent when he didn't send your kids to the same school as his. This is a really good point. This alone confirms not the a-hole. You can pay for your kids' college and car fees with the private school fees you never paid for my kid. He complains that his ex-wife used him for cash and made him pay all the bills, but that's what he's trying to do to me. Love this. You're not the a-hole. Wild he lacked this self-awareness and had to have it pointed out. Either way, it's going to cause problems. If your stepchildren are getting a car, it should be bought by their parents, and you could help with a small amount if you'd like. But buying 3 cars all by yourself is ridiculous. Info: how often do your stepchildren stay with you? My stepchildren are with us the majority of the time. They see their mother every other weekend, as well as whenever they ask to. I can afford to buy the 3 cars. I just don't want to out of principle. I don't think he would buy my son a car if the roles were reversed, which is okay. He's my son, and I acknowledge that I'm responsible for providing for him. Has he had his child support reevaluated with the less money coming in and the fact that the kids are with him more? Maybe you should start there. You are not the a-hole. Why is he still paying so much in child support? If he says anything about his ex-wife and her lifestyle, you know you have a huge problem. He went to get it reduced, but the judge barely reduced it because his ex-wife lives off it. She just gets disability other than that. The judge's reasoning is because she wouldn't be able to afford her apartment without it, and the kids wouldn't be able to stay with their mother at all if she was homeless. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move into a new apartment with my boyfriend because it'll mean I have to pay rent? I, 23 female, live in an apartment I inherited from my late dad. It's fully in my name since him and my mom weren't ever married or even in a relationship at all, and he didn't have a wife or other kids. He passed away during peak COVID, and I moved into the apartment full-time last year after graduation. The apartment was in a different city to my university, so I couldn't live in it while I was in university. I met my now boyfriend when I moved to this city. We've been officially dating for just over a year, and everything is great with him. Things are getting pretty serious, and he suggested moving in together. I was totally on board because I get lonely living on my own and ask him to sleep over so often. He's at my apartment for a lot of time anyway. I just assumed that he'd be moving into my apartment with me, so he won't even have to pay rent. But he sent me links to apartments that are already in my area. I had a conversation with him and asked why we couldn't just live at my apartment. He said he wouldn't feel comfortable living in a house that's completely mine, and he has no say over. He said if we rent a new place together, then we can have equal say in it. I got where he was coming from, but I was honest with him and said there was no way I was moving out of this amazing apartment that I live in rent-free, just to move into some other apartment in the same area and have to pay rent. I said legally, he would have tenants' rights if we live together, and I won't ask him to invest in some home maintenance or renovation since that's my business. He still wasn't satisfied and said he still isn't comfortable and is just looking out for himself. He suggested I can rent the apartment out and use the rent money to pay my half of the rent to our new apartment. But I don't want to be a landlord. I have a full-time job and have absolutely no interest in dealing with all the complications that come with being a landlord. After a lot of discussions, I said that since we can't agree, it's better that we just don't move in together and see if we can compromise later down the line. He said it's honestly hurt that I can't be bothered to put in any effort for us to live together and that I'm coming off materialistic to be so attached to the apartment to the detriment of our relationship. We've kind of been at a weird, awkward place in our relationship now, and I just want some perspective, I guess. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It does not make sense for you to take on additional expenses to placate his insecurities and empower his need to control. If he decides to move in, then make sure you consult a lawyer before. Yes, get a prenup agreement. He can also pay you rent, so it feels like his place. I thought of this, but I'm not sure I'd love the dynamic of that. Him paying me for rent to live in a place I own just doesn't feel right to me, and I'm worried that'll create an imbalance in our relationship, or even resentment because of how much more disposable income I'll have than him then. But if he's fine with it, then I'd be okay with it too. But I also doubt he'd be fine with it. I'll ask him about it next time. OP, it's not about feeling right. It's about not being dumb about this. You own this outright. He should draw up a tenancy agreement. But let's be real, it's not about the rent. He's controlling, because in no way does any of this make reasonable sense. He doesn't want to pay rent at your place, but he wants you to leave a place you own just to live with him and waste money? No way. You are being smart. I own and live in a home that I inherited and own outright. My husband moved in with me, which is admittedly different because he moved in after we got married. That said, I do not charge him rent, but if he had asked me to move somewhere else with a mortgage or rent, I would have laughed in his face. What a waste of money. Even if you use your place as a rental, it sounds like you would be paying rent. Why would you rent out your place with all the maintenance and risks that carries to turn around and use that rent to pay rent to someone else? The only time it makes sense to do this is to use a rental to help pay for a mortgage. That way, you are gaining equity in the home you live in. Update. My husband wants me to be a mother to his affair child. Original post. I, 29 female, and my husband, 44 male, have been together for 5 years and married for 2. I met him at a church I started going to when I moved cities to start my career. I work for an insurance company and he's a pastor. I know that we have a notable age gap, but he was always kind to me and made me feel special. Anyhow, a week ago he came home and told me we needed to talk. He told me through tears that he had been having an affair with one of our community members, 34 female, and that she had been pregnant with twins. She had gone into labor, but she and one of the twins died and the other is in the NICU. He said we needed to step up and that he wants me to turn my office into a nursery and set up a cot in the room so we can take turns. I became distressed and told him I wanted some time to think, that I was not sure I wanted to do this. He told me that I had made a vow to him in marriage and that God had blessed us with a child. That this is our cross to bear and that God will never give us something we cannot handle. I told him that it seemed God had given her more than she could handle because she had died. I know I should not have, but I was not thinking correctly. And he slapped me and told me that I needed to serve my husband, that God had chosen me as this child's mother and I needed to be his humble servant. I just feel so strange. Yesterday, I cried so hard I threw up. This woman died, yet I feel bad for myself. I feel so ugly. I wanted children and was saving for IVF because I'm infertile. But now that I have a chance to have a child, I do not want it. I feel like I'd be robbing its mother's grave. I pray to God, but if I'm being honest, it has never felt like anyone was ever listening. I feel like I have truly seen my husband, who looks his age and very tired. I want to abandon him and a child. I'm only 29. I can start over. I have a remote job. I can take a day off when he goes to the NICU, pack my essentials and leave. Neither him nor the child deserve this, and although this is my circus, that is not my monkey. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. The only thing that is not a huge red flag in all of this is you realizing that is not your monkey. He chose to be unfaithful, and from that he expects you to ultimately raise another woman's child? No way. If this is all true, there is only one thing you should do. Run. OP's husband also preaches about the vows she made, but what about him? I'm sure there's something about infidelity in there. Such a freaking hypocrite. If the affair partner hadn't died, did he even plan to tell OP about his second family? To top it all off, he physically abuses her. OP, run from this POS. You know what you need to do and what you want to do. Take a deep breath and run. He's manipulating you with your religion. Don't let him do this. Do not let him take this away. I'm gonna guess that this pastor who beats his wife skipped over the vows about monogamy and faithfulness. I hope she lets the rest of his congregation know what he did before she leaves. Otherwise, he'll probably spread horrendous lies about her deserting him. It sounds like he's kind of preying on his congregation, to be honest. He has already slept with at least 2 of the women, both at least 10 years younger than him, and OP's still fairly new. I wonder how often he does stuff like this to vulnerable women, because I highly doubt this was the only second time. Girl, you better love yourself to leave. That's the hard part. I always have felt like I was never on anyone's radar and just being their back burner. It made me feel special and loved, but this last week I feel like I've seen past that.
Although I was old enough to decide to be an age gap relationship, I feel like he had no business with being someone my age. I'm 29 now, and I would feel wrong being with someone 24. I spent my whole life accepting second best, and now that the one person who put me first has now put me last, I feel like I just see it all now. I feel used. Queen, you are 29 years old, with your whole life ahead of you. Not a person in this thread is wondering how he got this desperate man. They're all wondering how he got a catch like you. Forget being on someone else's radar. You are steering your own ship and have your own radar. You don't need to be on a back burner. You are your own fire. You have a career. You had the strength to move once and build a life. You can do anything. Just make sure it's the right thing for you, not someone else disguising their own sins or yours. Now for the first update. I just want to thank you all for the support. I'm still processing this all, and I just need a little time. I don't feel unsafe, just in love, just not enough. My husband did apologize for slapping me and continues to express regret. But he can't take it back, just as he cannot take back impregnating another woman, which ultimately killed her. I'm just feeling so disillusioned with my whole life right now. I know I should leave. I know that there is a world out there that will not treat me like this, but I'm scared of change. I'm working on a plan to leave and getting my ducks in a row for when I'm ready to go, but I am not sure when I would leave if I choose to. Men expressed that I should make a report to the police about him slapping me, and they're probably right, but that would likely cause me more problems than it would be worth. If I leave, it might make him want to contest the divorce more, and if I stay, it would cause more tension. I've been working on my left hook though, because I won't let him get away with it again. I'm not violent myself, but I'm down for a tussle, because although I'm hurt, I'm angry. I'm not sure if there will be an update because I'm still unsure. I can make all the plans in the world, but the changes scares me almost as much as bending to his will. I've been praying about it, but I see no clear answers nor guidance. I don't know. Funny thing, I'm jealous of the people saying that this is fake. It's like I want my life to be like it was 2 weeks ago. I could read a crazy story on the internet and think, wow, that's crazy. Seems kind of fake. And keep scrolling and go about my life. Only I can't scroll away in real life, because that's just not how life works. I don't owe anyone proof of my life tragedies, least of all strangers on the internet whom I will never meet. But I do thank all who have given support. I wish I could tell you I packed my bags and left his sorry butt, but I'm not strong enough yet. It's not that easy to do in real life as it turns out. 1. You will recover and be happier, healthier, and better for it. I was married to my abuser for 7 years. I started over after leaving him at 29. In a year since, I've started a new career, married my best friend, taken up new hobbies, traveled, lived in new places. It's been amazing. The journey of freedom and fulfillment and happiness where you're not trapped in an unhealthy and happy marriage with a horrible human being is the best gift you can give yourself, and the whole world opens up to you. 2. He doesn't value you. He values the image and stability you create for him. He's trying to gaslight you into staying so he can save face and create the illusion that you accepted his actions. He is trying to use you to care for the product of his affair and to excuse his actions with the church. 3. He has already physically harmed you by assault and endangered you for the entire length of any affair he has ever had. You need to get tested now and again in about 6 months. 4. Physical abuse only ever escalates. I was married to an abuser, and every time he hurt me, I blamed myself, excused his behavior, accepted his pathetic, whiny BS apologies, and allowed the cycle to continue. He will not change. This will not be his only affair, and it will not be the only time he hits you. If you agree to stay, he's going to leave you at home with a baby and go find new affair partners and abuse you when you question him, confront him, or threaten to leave, at which point he will also use the baby as leverage. Please do not give him the opportunity to do these things. 5. Move out. Take the stuff that matters to you and go start over. Family or friend you've been meaning to visit? That's a great destination to start with. 6. He's a bad person. Full stop. He is an abuser. Do not allow him to cajole or convince otherwise. He is physically and sexually and emotionally abusive. He is a cheater and had no intentions to stop. He had every intention of keeping both of you for as long as possible. Think about that. He didn't come clean when she got pregnant. She got far enough along for viable babies, and he's trying to get you to raise them. He never intended to give up either of you. That behavior will not change. He is a manipulator. This man was a pastor that got into a relationship with a member of the church while married himself, and then hit his wife when she wouldn't comply with his demands. There was no redeeming quality about him. He just had the ability to hide who he really is. He is a narcissist. I recommend heading over to r/narcissistic abuse and r/narc abuse and divorce for additional support and a place to talk with others that will understand. 7. Good luck from one woman who has escaped a guy like this to another. You will be okay. You will heal. You have a better, bigger, happy, healthy life waiting for you. Please take care of yourself. I'm praying for you. Don't take his nonsense. And when he tells you God told me, because he will, don't fall for it. You deserve to be happy. If he hit you once, he can do it again. Also, that church. The fact that some people knew and he is now asking them to help you create the nursery, to sacrifice your office, your space, to make way for this baby? Watch out for those people. They're enablers. Do not share your plans with anyone that you do not trust 100%. Do not let him gaslight you into believing that you can now have the life you've always wanted. Please think about finding a good therapist, not through that church, an actual licensed one, to see things clearly. There might even be resources around you that you are not aware of. You have every right to be angry. Pressing charges would hold him accountable for his actions. It might also give you the necessary push and help to get out of there ASAP. Yes, it will create more tension, but this is not your fault. Do not think of it in terms of how he could act. This isn't about his wants or needs. This is about yours. And right now, you need to get the heck out of there. Please understand that change is good. Change in itself is an act of faith. It's about letting go of your control to see what could be out there. Bending to his will, as he so eloquently said, is simply giving up everything that makes you you. And you are worth more than this BS. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. The longer you stay, the more he will wear you down. He has lied and manipulated you. He has physically harmed you. That is not going to change. Change is definitely scary, but being abused is scarier. You need to leave that house. Now for the final update 8 months later. I left. If that's all you wanted to know, there it is. For those of you who are asking how the other woman died, I get it. I invited you into my business. It was an amniotic fluid embolism. I don't know much about those, but I guess when they happen, things go wrong really fast. We lived in a more rural area, so they just weren't ready for something like that to happen. I didn't leave right away, as I know now that I should have. It just wasn't that easy. I stayed for 2 months. I knew if I did not at least try to make it work, I would not be able to live with it. Not because I wanted to save my marriage, but because what ifs keep me up at night enough as is. I went to marriage counseling with my husband, but it was ultimately fruitless. Of course, it was Christian counseling. I felt like their goal was for me to forgive him, rather than actually trying to help me. I was so utterly alone during that time. My parents and brother are also very religious, so even though they weren't happy with my husband, they kept urging me to do what a good Christian wife would do. I spent so much time suffering in my own head that I began to realize that I was just going through the motions, doing what I thought people expected of me. I entered a state of derealization for a time, and that was absolutely confusing. The feeling of nothing being real, not even myself, was horrible. During this period, my husband brought his baby home, and while he tried to split the cares 50-50 at first, he ultimately didn't trust me to look after the baby because I was lost in space. So he ended up being the primary provider. When I was with the baby, all I could think about was how its existence ruined my life. It would look at me with big blue eyes, and I would just wish it would disappear. I would actively spend time resenting a baby. There was a time when I was thinking to myself and wished it would stop breathing. That was when I knew that I needed to leave. I was blaming a baby and wishing ill upon it, and that was not okay to do. I don't remember much about this time besides that. It's mostly a blur otherwise. I sought services through my work to talk to a therapist, and I eventually came back to earth. She helped me make a plan. At no point did I fear my husband. I truly believed his slap was a one-off event. However, screw him. He doesn't deserve closure. So on a night he had a long Bible study, and he always took his baby with him because he didn't trust me, I packed my essentials and dipped. I met him pretty quickly after college, so I did not have much to take as far as furnishings. I fit everything I wanted in 3 suitcases and 4 moving boxes. It all fit into my SUV after some mediocre Tetris skills. I was able to change my phone number online before I left, but I did leave the divorce papers under his pillow with my lawyer's contact info. Kind of like the tooth fairy, but for a-holes. I was the breadwinner, and in my state, we were not married long enough for me to pay spousal maintenance. At least that is what my lawyer said. I own my vehicle outright. We had our own bank accounts and a shared expenses account. We filed taxes separately, and the church owns the house. is being an a-hole about it all, but I'm hoping it should be done soon. I got a decent apartment in a city a few hundred miles away. I've never lived in a city this big before. Everything is so expensive, but besides that, I like it. I found a new therapist, met some new friends, and found a new church with loving people. I still have my days, but for the most part, I'm content. I think it will always hurt on some level, but I'm working on taking my power back. I turn 30 next month, and I am hopeful it will be the start of my best decade yet. Good. You deserve better. Good luck. God, I'm so sorry, but happy that you're in a safe place. You did well for yourself and your mental health. None of this is your fault. It's all his. Happy you're healthy. I hope you stay happy. Nobody needs to raise a child of their partner's affair. You did the right thing for you. I knew a lady who did it, but it's very rare. Way back in the 80s, a lady I worked with, her daughter was a teenager. She was in a miserable marriage. She was raised super funny and married at like 18 or 19, and just couldn't contemplate divorce. It terrified her. She worked for her husband's company, desperately wanted another baby because her daughter would be going off to college soon, and she'd be stuck alone with this a-hole she hated. She was really depressed that she couldn't get pregnant again. Well, wouldn't you know it? Look, honey, the Lord blessed us. Someone her husband knew had a relative who got pregnant in high school and didn't want to keep it. I want to say the lady's name was Lynette, something country like that. We worked at a Walden Books in the early 80s. Lynette and her teen daughter fell in love with that baby boy, and Lynette ended up kicking the hubs to the curb and keeping the baby. A sweet story. But screw OP's husband. And OP, is not your fault you resented that baby. Good on you for recognizing it and leaving. You deserve a good life. You said you think it'll always hurt on some level. It won't. It just won't. I don't know how to explain how you go from loving someone to loving them, not liking them, but loving them anyway, to just apathy. Just nothing. It's like the world reabsorbs that love. It just evaporates. And it is gone and no longer the burden that loving a narcissist truly is. Look, I just read all your story and it's horrible. I'm sorry you've been through this hurtful ordeal. But thankful to be on the outside now. I know that better days are ahead. Your ex? That dude has zero capacity for love. Zero. He used his baby to try to manipulate you. Score that on a parent report card. He's trash. Be thankful that love evaporates. He doesn't deserve it, and neither do you. I wish you the very best. You'll be fine. Update. I told my ex-wife that being a part-time dad has been the best year of my life. Original post. I, male 36, met my ex-wife, female 33, when I was 25. We fell in love, and the children came sooner than we planned, but it just happened and I loved the heck out of my children. Female 9, male 7.5, and female 5. First few years of our relationship was great, but then it wasn't. Looking back, it wasn't anyone's fault. We just became very different people. After we had our youngest child, our life became non-existent. I felt like for my wife, the purpose of sleeping with me was done. Now we have 3 beautiful children. After 3 years, we started having sex again in a form of Mercy and works in bed. It wasn't enough for me, but she told me that she's tired and busy with 3 small children. I was tired too, but I was more than prepared to make effort to make plans and time for romance. Not only the physical act that suffered, but even intimacy and romance. I had vasectomy, so ex-wife didn't need to take unnecessary hormones because we were done having children. When it started affecting our children, seeing us very irritated and cold towards each other, I thought I should man up and pull the plug. We haven't been happy or intimate since before our second was born, and we haven't been really intimate since we conceived our youngest. We should have ended it way earlier, but the guilt of breaking the children's home was heavy, until I noticed that our home was already broken, and my children aren't stupid not to see this sellotape we're trying to hold it together with. So I asked for divorce. Everyone told me I was mad and to think about the children. And it was very hard in the beginning, yes. I left the house for my ex, rented a 2-bedroom nearby, and we started doing 1 week each. I was positively surprised at how much happier the children became, seeing me happy and not easily irritated and brooding. I started seeing my girlfriend, female 40, about a year ago, and what was thought to be a casual one-time thing turned out to be the love of my life. She is amazing in every aspect. Kind, loving, successful, funny, and so freaking beautiful. She's child-free, and she was happy that I was done having children. And my child-free weeks, I can just be with her, just being me. Late breakfasts in bed, morning fun, wherever I want in the home. I know it makes me sound like a selfish douche, but on my weeks, I give 100% because I'm content and happy with life. She has met my children too, and they adore her. Why this lengthy background? I'll tell you. My ex, and my ex-mother-in-law and my own mother behind her, has been hinting that maybe we should go back together now. The children are older, we are less tired, and we are much happier now, so we aren't going to fight all the time like we used to. Ex wants a real relationship too, and she will give me as much sex as I wanted. Wow, is that really what she thinks I want? More mercy for my sake? To think of the children. Ex is tired of being a single mom, while I'm playing a bachelor every other week. Give them their old safe home back, no need for hopping from place to place. While the guilt was nagging at me, I rejected her advances and ignored her and the guilt because I'm happy for the first time in years, maybe ever. Until Friday when my girlfriend came home crying. She asked me maybe we should break up and that she doesn't want to be in the way of my and my children's happiness. She asked me if I was still in love with my ex. It broke my heart to see her broken. Like I didn't do a good job showing her what she meant to me and how much I loved her. Turned out, ex-wife has contacted her, telling her that she was the reason we aren't back together and the children are suffering. That we love each other and she is my fun for now. I called my ex livid and she called me selfish. I then told her that being a part-time dad was the best thing that ever happened to me because I'm a human, not only a father. My ex-wife started crying. I apologized for hurting her, but she hung up. Now I'm being bombed by my mom and the rest that I'm a selfish man and a terrible father. My mom even sent me a video with my children where she asked them how they would feel if mommy and daddy moved back together. And they were so happy, saying yes and jumping. I can't forget my daughter's face lighting up with happiness at a prospect. This video was sent to my girlfriend as well, and now she's distant and broken. I hear her cry whenever she thinks I don't hear her. Am I being wrong here? Am I being a terrible parent? What my family doesn't understand is that my children's happiness now is the result of me leaving our toxic, depressing existence. But how can you explain that to small children? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I would save that video and contact your lawyer about parental alienation. I would also limit contact with your mother. Sit down with your kids and explain manipulation in an age-appropriate way. Not the a-hole. Don't let your mother see your children. Take that video to your lawyer. What they are doing is parental alienation. OP's mother has done more to traumatize the kids than OP ever did. Absolutely disgusting behavior. OP, any child of divorce will say yes when asked that question. I know I did. But did I really want to live like that again, walking in eggshells because of the atmosphere in our home when my parents were together? Hell no. I hated it. It was horrible. Your kids like seeing you happy, and some a-hole in the family's lying to them that you would still be this happy if you go back with a mother. Your kids know it won't be like that, but are probably too scared to say no. They are happy you are happy. You tried your best. Do not go back. It won't change. And how did I know? As soon as you said your girlfriend was upset that she had been contacted by your ex. This is a nasty move on her part. This is disgusting what they're doing to your kids. Tell her to knock it off, or you will contact a lawyer. She's filling the kid's head with crap. Good luck to you. Just keep being a good dad when you have them and have a good time when you don't. You have balance and you do not give that up. Yes, it broke your heart to see your daughter's face, but that video was sent for that reason. Blackmail. She is sick. You get one life, and if you're happy, kids are happy, then that, my friend, is a win. Good luck. Tell your girlfriend you're sorry they got to her, but you are not going anywhere. Man, this hit close to home. My children literally were walking in eggshells, not knowing when their mother and I would have a row, even when we tried not to fight in front of them, and the guilt they felt because somehow they believed they were the reason for these rows. The kids always think it's their fault, just because they don't know why it's happening. But they see daddy smile now. Bet that's a big change for them. And stop doubting yourself if you are not a good parent. You would not be here asking for advice. This is a case of, I don't want him but he's happy. Now I want him back. How can he be happy without me? She expected you to be miserable and it didn't work. Choose to be happy. Your girlfriend is not a problem here. Tell her, you make me smile. Do you know how I longed for someone to look at me and smile and make me smile? Well, we found each other and I don't want it to change. Now for the update. Thanks everyone for the advice and suggestions. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of the support I got here. Here is my update, but before that, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is that I have stepped on my toes with my bold statement about being divorced. I think the more expected and virtuous approach is to be devastated and guilt-ridden. My experience is something else, however, and I really tried to be genuine and honest here. Divorce is hard and terrifying. Many people, both men and women, hesitate and stay away longer than necessary because of one reason or another. I can't tell all unhappy people to get divorced since I don't know y'all's situation, but for those who can, do it. I was trying to explain what I have discovered. The positive side of having shared custody, because only the negative is talked about. I'm sure many divorced people get what I meant by having every other week child-free is awesome. We are humans with feelings. Our love for our children doesn't stop or take a break when they're out of sight. They don't need to be present for us to love and think about them. So I will double down and say that being a part-time parent is just awesome, no matter the gender. It is okay to feel that way. You are not a lesser parent for it. I've talked to my mother about what she did and she was very remorseful. Apparently, Dad has had a talk with her about this too. He was shocked at what she's done, and she seems to have realized the seriousness of what she's done. I took her apology, but I was firm on my boundaries, and that I didn't want her to be in my children's life for a while until I have sorted out their feelings and talked to them. She was reluctant to acknowledge. My girlfriend, however, I made it clear that after the children, she is my priority before myself, and definitely before her, Mom. So how much she wants to be in my life depends on how much she respects my life and the people I love. I've talked to my ex-wife too. Made it clear that under no circumstances is she ever to contact my girlfriend again. I told her that this was still a new relationship and any contact is going to be with me. I told her that my girlfriend has nothing to do with my decision of divorce. I have no romantic feelings for her, my ex-wife, and that I know she doesn't have any feelings for me either. She just wants me out of convenience. I don't. She started crying and telling me that I didn't get to tell her what she's feeling. I agreed and apologized. I told her then I will only speak to my behalf. I want us to be friends and to raise our children to be the great people they're on the path to becoming. I don't want them to be used as pawns in the sick game she and the mothers are playing. I will not allow it and will do whatever it takes to protect them. I suggested that we can start family therapy because I needed her to understand the turmoil her and my mother put our children through. I never want that to happen again. She told me that she didn't want my girlfriend to be in their lives yet because she didn't know her. Fair enough, but I reminded her that our agreement is that when a relationship is serious, that's when we introduced our new partners to our children. And this is going to happen eventually, so she better get used to it. I also talked to her about me not going to take her workload on her weeks, meaning that I won't be dropping by every morning to wake up the children and take them to school. She will have to start waking up in the morning, like any other parent out there. About the food, I will still send home-cooked food with my children on the weeks they're with her, because I know that I can't demand her to cook, but at the same time, I don't want my children to eat junk food. About me mentioning that her home is a pigsty, I know that my eldest daughter has mentioned that it wasn't always pleasant at Mommy's house, but again, now I don't live there to clean. I can't demand my ex to live in a way she doesn't want to. I have, however, offered that if Fridays my children go home to her to spend a week, I will send a cleaning service so the children have a somewhat clean environment. She agreed. She was angry about having to wake up early, however, because she usually starts work at 10 a.m. I guess she will have to adjust. About my girlfriend. We were supposed to spend a coming weekend together with the children, but I will respect my ex-wife's wishes. So for now at least, until we have gone to some sessions with the children, then I can bring it up again. She's spending the rest of this week with me, however. I know that she feels guilty. I have tried to explain that she has nothing to do with whatever happened and that she was dragged into this situation without any reason. Because with or without her, I would never go back to my old life. That I left this marriage before I even knew she existed. I don't know if she believed me or felt reassured. She just said that she loved me. I apologized to her and I will try to make her feel comfortable with me again. I guess this is one of those tests that relationships hit, and we shall see if our connection is strong enough to overcome this. I think it is. Wait, so X doesn't cook for the kids or clean the house, and you go over in the mornings to get the kids ready for school, and she gets a week off to herself every other week? What's wrong with her? Sounds like depression, honestly. I've never really heard of anyone, parent or not, single or not, who didn't clean, didn't cook, and didn't wake up at reasonable times. At least when they knew they'd have obligations in the morning, who wasn't depressed, honestly. Got divorced. Ex-husband is thriving financially and romantically. Yep, she's depressed. What makes you think she's like this only after divorce? Everything seems to point to her always being like this. Why did you think he got out? OP literally says it was the same before. He was just there to do the cleaning, etc. They're bending over backwards to give a woman an excuse. Holy crap on a cracker. You've been going to her house every day to get the kids ready for school? No wonder she thought she still had reason to think she was still in control. Also, make sure the counselor understands that the point of the sessions are for post-divorce co-parenting. Do not let your ex try to make it a reconciliation. Show the counselor the videos and all the other shenanigans your ex and both mothers have done. You should also let your ex know that your own mother is on restriction because of their crap. Good luck. Also, if you've been going to the house every day to get them ready for school, you're selling yourself short, calling yourself a part-time parent. Agreed. OP is finally getting a more equal share of parenting, and he has space and time for himself. I experienced this too, and it could be easy to wallow in self-pity as a father. Not getting to be a father all the time, and it does hurt, but there isn't anything I can do to manufacture more time with my kids. So I may as well invest in myself and find ways to live my life as a person to its fullest. I hope OP's ex-wife can understand this someday as well. That she was dragged into this situation without any reason. Oh, there was a reason. It was a bad one, but there was a reason. Your ex and the moms had it in their head that if your girlfriend wasn't in the picture, you had no choice but to get back with your ex. They were of course 100% wrong, but that's not what their fantasy told them. It makes me happy to read that you've set them straight. Right? As if the girlfriend is gone, so are OP's feelings for her, and in some miraculous way, he will fall in love with ex again. Some people are just delusional. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that my son will always come before her? My 32 male wife, 30 female, is concerned over our financial situation. I think her concern is misplaced, but I told her my income isn't going to change anytime soon, so I asked her what she wanted we do about it. She suggested that when my son, her stepson, turns 18, we should start charging him rent. I immediately shut down that idea and told her we would have to think of something else, because there's no way I'm charging my son to live in our house. She said it was reasonable since I was paying most of his college tuition, but I told her there are alternatives. I suggested we stopped eating out so much because it's $50 to $100 per meal, but she didn't like that idea. I suggested other things which she rejected, so I told her I'm open to suggestions, but my son isn't going to be our source of income. She told me I should think more of her than my son, which made me a little mad. So I told her my son will always come before her. She called me an a-hole after that and hasn't talked to me since. Did I overstep? Now for the comments. You had a kid at 14, but not the a-hole. You did right by your son, and your current wife needs to adjust her attitude. Maybe look for a better job herself if she wants a higher income household. It wasn't planned, but yes. My mother helped raise him until I was ready to raise him independently. I was 15, even though that's not much better. Kudos to you and your mom for stepping up and putting your kid first. Don't ever stop doing it. Not the a-hole. If she can't cut out eating out so much, there's no way the next step is charge an 18-year-old rent. Is she working? Can she get a better job? She doesn't work. Problem solved. Wife, we can make the freeloader in this house get a job and help out with the finances. OP, great idea. What do you think you could do for work? Not the a-hole. I'd be suspicious if any parent thought of others before they thought of their children, even a spouse. It's great that you're able and willing to support your son. On the contrary, your wife sucks for rather having an 18-year-old student pay rent than skipping some restaurant visits. And OP's current wife doesn't work herself either. Which is hilarious that she expects an 18-year-old to hold down a job and complete his studies by the by. The entitlement.
Update. Am I the a-hole for not marrying my pregnant ex-girlfriend? Original post. Nicole, 40 female, and I, male 40, were together for less than 2 years. She broke up with me 2.5 weeks ago. At first, she said she hated me and didn't want to hear from me ever. I respected that and did not contact her. One night, she drunk texted me about wasting her time and suggested getting back together. I ignored it since she was obviously drunk. But recently, she informed me that she's pregnant. I asked if the baby is mine, which made her furious. She accused me of accusing her of cheating.
Even though she hasn't had a doctor's appointment yet, which I told her I wanted to attend with her, she has informed my entire family that I got her pregnant and abandoned her and the baby. Now my Christian mom's siblings, friends, and cousins are pressuring me to propose to her. Today, she called me 3 times at work, suggesting meeting over the weekend with my family for a small wedding, and I lost it. I don't even know if the baby is mine, and I won't marry someone just because of a baby. She called me an a-hole and hung up and called my family again, and my entire family is mad at me. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Did you see the positive pregnancy test? This is all kinds of crazy, and kinda seems like a trap with the pressure of marriage. Nope, I haven't seen anything. That's why I suggested to go to the doctor with her. Smart move. I'd want to see a positive test that I was present for, be there at the ultrasound, and get a fetal paternity test done if the doctor okays it, given it's not high-risk pregnancy if it's real. I'm sorry you're in this situation, and it's wild to me your mom believes her over you. Or that's the impression I got. I agree, except you can now do a full DNA screening and match for paternity using maternal blood instead of like the old days, where the needle had to go through the uterus. Only been out for a few years. So this chick is crazy. Don't get married because of a baby. That's a trash reason. Commit yourself to the baby because if it's yours. She did make it herself, not her. There is a way to do that. She screams she freaking hates me, but I should work on myself and marry her. WTF. She sounds like a manipulative person. Be careful. Maybe the kid is not even yours. And you both are in your 40s. It's not like she's a helpless young lady that doesn't know anything about life. Dude, so not the a-hole. My husband dealt with a very similar situation like this one with one of his exes years ago. When that ex texted him claiming she was pregnant with his baby, he texted her back saying he needed concrete proof that pregnancy was real and demanded to show him in person the pregnancy test as well as any medical documents that show proof of the pregnancy. She got mad and messaged my mother-in-law over Facebook with that same sob story your ex told your mom. Luckily, mother-in-law also didn't buy it and backed my husband, saying the same thing. Apparently, this went on for a week or so, where that's all my husband and mother-in-law would tell her when she kept trying to reach out. After a week or so, the ex texted back claiming she lost the baby. Lol. If you do something like this, get a mutual friend or one of your family members who believes you to back you up in case your ex tries this nonsense. Do not tell her anything else besides that you will go with her to her doctor's appointment to confirm pregnancy, and that you are speaking with a lawyer to take steps to determine paternity if she's legit pregnant. Get these things in screenshots or audio recordings just in case. Also, please talk to a lawyer to find out how to do a court-ordered paternity test. You'll find out the truth soon enough. Good luck! Now for the update. So Nicole, my ex, ended up emailing my FWB Aaron's boss. She found a company on her LinkedIn and then mass emailed everyone. She wrote that we are engaged and have a baby on the way and told Aaron's employee to tell Aaron to leave our family alone. Aaron called me crying. Luckily, her company didn't fire her, but she was pretty embarrassed. She showed me the email. I decided to meet with Nicole in person and stay calm to see if I can go to the doctor with her. When we met, I asked how far along she is. She said she doesn't know exactly. I suggested that we go to a doctor who can probably determine the pregnancy through ultrasound or some tests. She said the doctor won't see her until at least 3 months. I asked how that's possible, and she got mad, saying it doesn't make a difference. She accused me of being a selfish narcissist and said she hates all of us, mentioning Josh. I asked who Josh was, and she started crying, admitting that she has been having an affair with her coworker since Christmas, on and off. She broke up with me, hoping she could be with Josh, but he only wanted random hookups. That's why she made up the whole pregnancy story, saying, I realized that I still love you. I want to be with you forever. I asked her to confirm that she's not pregnant, and she screamed, No, I'm not. But didn't you hear that I still love you? I left. On the bright side, Erin and I have been talking a lot, and the more we talk, I realize what a wonderful woman she is. I asked if we can spend more time together, not just hook up, and she said she liked that. Dude, your ex is crazy bonkers. If DNA paternity tests can be done at 9 weeks, how the heck can she claim the doctor won't see her until 3 months? An OB will see a pregnant woman as soon as there is an available appointment. Don't believe anything she tells you. If she comes up with a sonogram pic, don't believe it unless you see the baby on a screen with your own eyes. She wouldn't be the first to find a sonogram pic online and Photoshop her name and info on it. Since she's already proven how psycho she can be, watch her back. If you even think she might have access to your home or any financial or account passwords, change them. Consider getting some security cams. Best wishes. Hopefully it's legal to record any and all conversations you might have with your ex if she reaches out again. Maybe that would help Aaron's case against her. Anyone who attempts to baby trap someone is despicable. Too bad you didn't record your ex's confession. I feel so bad for Aaron. If I were you, I would help Aaron to hire a lawyer to sue your ex for defamation. If she has a case, I would even help her financially to sue my ex. Not a lawyer, but I would think, depending on what was in the email, could give her a case. Your ex deliberately mass emailed Aaron's work to tarnish her reputation after going out of her way to find her online. Had she succeeded, Aaron could have been fired or disciplined. I would consult an attorney. A lawsuit can be discussed. Not sure what jurisdiction you live in, but laws vary, and you may or may not have a case. But I'd probably also inquire about a restraining order against your ex. The made-up story and emailing the entire company a major lie, which could have had some really bad consequences, that seems pretty unhinged behavior. And honestly, I'm worried about your ex escalating the situation. Good luck to you. Contact the police via their non-emergency number and ask what they recommend about protecting yourself and Aaron about the crazy ex. This might be something where you need to work with a lawyer to file for an order of protection or a restraining order to keep her out of your life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for billing my fiancé after a prenup request? My fiancé and I are high school sweethearts. We lived together about 3.5 years in college, but I left him because the last 2 years, he quit his job, complained nonstop about failing classes, but did nothing but sleep and play video games. Didn't pay his share of bills, but expected me to do all cleaning and cooking while working 2 jobs and school full-time. Then was mean to me. Time passes. He attends therapy, graduates, stabilizes, and honestly became such a good man. We reconnected and date again. Life happens and we end up in different cities due to work. We are now engaged. He is under contract, so it's expected I move with him. He also just bought a house. Cause his mortgage for a 3-bed is cheaper than he was paying for a 1-bedroom apartment. He put $15,000 down. We talked about me paying $900 a month towards bills, which I had no issue with at first. Then he mentions getting a prenup. This rubs me the wrong way. I understand wanting to protect assets, but like we have been together since 15. And well, if we put tally marks to it, he owes me money. I would have to relocate and find a new job in his town, which the only reason I'd go there is for him. I agreed, but told him we need to settle his debts with me and have an established leasing agreement. This offended and made him super upset. We have a notarized contract because I took out $10,000 in loans after I lost his scholarships one semester and was denied approval. Despite it, I have been paying and never asked for money back before now. His car cost $6,000, and I loaned him $2.5K of it. Never got a dime back. Although he said he would pay it back, I never really pressed it though. I paid almost all bills for 2 years after he had quit his job. I didn't ask for any back, but I sure as heck pointed it out. And I decided that it would only be fair for me to pay for a market room rate. We live in the South, and that's $500 to $650 utilities included. I also started requesting half of vet bills as kitty support since one of our cats has diabetes. He has taken the changes as a champ, but I can tell he's super stressed out and sad. He literally makes double what I make at the moment, but I know he never expected, or maybe even remember, all the costs I've bid in for this relationship. I feel guilty because I never committed with expectations of it being returned, so when he suggested it, I don't know why I felt salty. Then I go a list of my costs which hurt him, and I don't know. Am I an a-hole? Did I go too far? Now for the top comments. I think your request was totally reasonable. If he wants a prenup, you need to even his score first. I don't understand how he expects you to not be offended by the prenup while simultaneously being hurt by a request for what you are owed. He owes her $10,000 in a notarized contract, not to mention the rest. Seems like she put down $10,000 of the deposit on his house. I said, this looks like so much baggage for the start of your marriage. Maybe you should be rethinking your relationship. You broke up with him once. Not the a-hole. Do not marry this clown. You were going to be left holding the bag, prenup or not. Yeah, I don't like how he turned himself around so admirably, but all that growth and self-awareness just happened to not include awareness of the $15,000 to $20,000 he owed this woman, the woman he's supposedly so in love with.
OP, you were totally justified in telling him he needs to pay up, and also in refusing to contribute more than a renter would want in his house. However, I'd suggest you get him to agree to buying a new house together if you marry, as it makes zero sense to me that 20 years from today he will own a home, but you'll still have the zero equity of a woman who has been renting to those 20 years. Overall, I feel uneasy for you that after everything you did for him in the past, and with him expecting you to completely uproot your life, he'd even think prenup. These $15,000 to $20,000 are money and time she could have spent on personal development because it was in college. Her losses are much higher. Funny that he also put down $15K for his house. Not the a-hole. Struggling to see why you would marry this loser who exploits you and doesn't pay you back. Good people pay their debts without being hassled. I wish I could upvote this more than once. He is a mooch, and he has shown himself to be one time and again. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my son to have his father's last name? I'm female 22 and currently pregnant and no longer with a father. We aren't together for many reasons, like him drinking and cheating on me, etc. I tried to stay strong when I first found out I was pregnant, which only led to a bunch of threatened miscarriages from the stress/anxiety it put me in. So for myself and my health's sake, I left. To clarify, my menstrual cycle is not very consistent. Sometimes twice a month for 9 days at a time, and some only once a month for only 4 to 5 days at a time. Needless to say, I didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 6, almost 7 weeks along. I have had about 3 due date changes now, from it being January 24th to February 20th, and now close to Valentine's Day. Through it all, I've been single, going to every appointment alone, which has been a lot of extras because I have a heart condition and currently cannot take my medication for it due to it possibly causing harm to the baby. I was told a gender, a little too early, and it ended up being the wrong gender, but I've kept the father in the loop with it all. Originally, I was told it was a girl, and because of that, my ex wanted nothing to do with the pregnancy and anything after. Which is fine, I'll do it alone if I have to. But recently, I've found out at the genetics appointment that it is actually a boy, and now the dad wants to be around, and is trying to force me to give him his last name. I keep telling him I just don't know yet, because he isn't even going to be there when I go into labor. So, would I be the a-hole if I'm not even considering using his name? He keeps trying to fight me on this with lawsuits, and keeps telling me he'll just take me to court if I do any of this without his permission. But why would I give my baby his last name if he didn't want anything to do with it before finding out the actual gender? I just don't know what to do anymore, because everything I say is lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit if I don't do something his way. And he was also trying to get full custody, which could never happen because 1, he can't drive right now due to his DUIs, and 2, he lives 2 hours away from me now, so the baby wouldn't even be close to the county he is born in. I could really use some advice. Do I just cave in and give him his last name, or do I just give him mine? I'm so tired of hearing all of it, and half the time I wish I didn't even tell the father it was a boy, so he would just leave me alone. I would have felt much happier if I was doing it solo, to be honest. Not the a-hole. Give him your name. The odds of him actually having the money and energy to keep up with the lawsuit is very low. Call his bluff. The doctor's office cannot tell him anything due to HIPAA. Not the a-hole. To be sure, tell doctor's office you aren't sure on father. Do not, under any circumstances, put his name anywhere in any paperwork at doctor office or hospital. If for some reason you have his name in papers at doctor's office, tell them you need to cross through his name and white it out. I agree with above comment. Due to HIPAA, they should not tell anyone anything. But there are occasions where it does happen, so make sure he's nowhere in your chart. And they can note that if this person calls and says he is husband or whatever, they are not to believe him, nor even tell him if you have had baby yet, or if you are even a patient there. Not the a-hole. Give him your last name. When you give birth, don't tell him where or when. The nurses will give you the birth certificate to complete, and you have to sign it, not him. What you put will be what is recorded. He can't just file a lawsuit and have it changed at a snap of his fingers. If he wants to waste his time and money trying, then let him. They also wouldn't give him full custody unless you were proven to be an unfit parent. Make sure when you do go to the hospital to tell the nurses and staff he is not allowed in the room when you have the baby. Even if he's the father, they won't let him in if you say you don't want him there. He won't even be in the country during my labor. His family is from England, so that's when he thought the best time to visit them would be. As the child of a similar situation, give that baby your last name. Seriously,
I'm thankful every day that I don't have my deadbeat woman beating rape piece of nuclear waste's last name. Knowing my dad's ego, he's going to die bitter about it. But I don't care, because I've not spoken to him since I was 18, 8 years ago, and he was barely around before that. My relationship with my mom is far from perfect, but I love having her last name because she's the one who raised me. My sister passed it down and I intend to whenever I have kids.